Yeah. Step in the ring. Gotta play my life on this song. Yeah. Spotlight sparks, spotlight sparks, spotlight sparks, spotlight sparks. Yeah. When the spotlight sparks, spotlight sparks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show, hitting the marks. Step in the ring, it's a war zone spark. Roman Reigns with the spear, leave a legacy mark. Kenny Omega with the V-trigger, cleaner than art. MJF talk slick, cut promos that scar. Okada with the rainmaker, money flows hard. Seth Rollins curb stomp, burn it down, no guard. John Mox with the paradigm, shit blood in the yard. Jay White with the blade runner, switchblade sharp. Bianca Belair, whip crack, hair snap charge. Will Ospreay with the hidden blade, aerial barrage. Claudio swinging bodies like a carnival park. Darby all in directless, paint face dark. Saw the flare figure eight. Legacy arc, Hangman Page, buckshot, cowboy spark, ricochet flips insane, gravity disc bar, the young bucks, super kick party, double tap start. From AEW to WEROH to NJPW charts, every move, every feud, every pop from the marks. Talk crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show, hitting the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sports. We live for the show, hitting the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Spotlight sparks, spotlight sparks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Spotlight sparks, hitting the marks. I mean media.
You know, as good as our intro video is, it's not nearly as good as watching Rick behind the scenes in the studio dancing to it. It's absolutely amazing. It is Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. You're tuned into the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcasthausen, powered by the Hameen Media Group, patreon.com, Hameen Media Group, and of course, presented by the HTM Podcast Network. On this week's show, we're talking fallout from the Elimination Chamber, the return of the Botch and the Brilliance, and how much we love that Danhausen. But before we dive in, it's my obligation to remind you this is a podcast by the fans for the fans, bringing you all the news that is news from across the professional wrestling world. Keep up with the show by searching Hitting the Marks on your favorite podcast listening device. My name is Dr. Michael Jargo, PhD, and of course, I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend. He's the real Huckleberryhausen, RBV. Rick, welcome back to your show.
Van Aspay Evil, episode 3, and yes, it is me, that honor to be to the V, Richard Bronson Vickery, back again, my friend, hitting the marks. Hey, man, the last 2 weeks have been incredible start here. We're just getting settled in, finding that groove, and you're right, man. That opening's always got me moving and grooving. I gotta get loose here. And as said, a lot to talk about, a lot from the chamber, but it's in the rear view mirror. We are full throttle on the road to WrestleMania. And also in there might be a revolution of sorts. I don't know, in some other company happening there, but a lot in the world of professional wrestling.
We will talk a little bit of AEW towards the end of this show and kind of what it is that they're doing and what they're doing right, because it looks like their ratings are on the uptick. That's good to see because they had fallen quite substantially, but the last month or so, their ratings are on an uptick, and the shows have been really good. But and we've talked about it before. We'll talk about it again later. The shows are really good, but there's nothing to talk about. Like there's not that big high that WWE gives us with like Roman and Punk in the final segment last night. It's just a consistently good show that's not trying to outthink the room, so to speak. And I thought Raw was a really, really good show last night. And we'll talk about that final segment. That to me was the worst part of the show.
Yeah, I don't know in either case, we're talking about Dynamite or the AEW product, WWE, especially last night, if I would go as far to say good. Certainly some very high spots in there to get your interest, stay with these travel puns, get your motor running a little bit, but there's so many drawbacks. You know, we were talking as we get going here, man. Last night's Raw, it came out hot. It had that very Attitude Era-esque energy to it. A lot of action just coming at you, a lot of working parts, superstars getting their hits in, making their appearances, and then boom, just that weight around your neck to hold you down as a viewer to want to keep getting interested in just advertising, commercial breaks, formatting, production. And that is the running trend here. I understand. Bottom dollar. TKO is big, big business. Where can we get all of this business to business networking, all of these ads in here? But there are other strategies to employ to project those messages, to get the ultimate return on investment, your call to action. And the way that they are attacking this right now, it is such a drain on the viewer and completely takes you out of the momentum of what could be a good program to enjoy.
And Elimination Chamber was kind of the epitome of that for me anyway. I mean, I watched the show live and then I went back and rewatched it, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I immediately after the show, I sent you a message. It was 1 hour and 21 minutes worth of wrestling on a show that was 2 hours and 50 minutes long. There was more advertisements and entrances on this show than there was wrestling. And this is one of the big PLEs. Like at a certain point, you're going to turn off the audience because they're not tuning in to watch nothing but ads, let alone on a streaming service that I pay for no ads.
Yeah, I think that's the real catch. I haven't done the thing where I've gone to the tier where it's no ads, and that's mainly why, because I had heard, especially the vet talking about, like, why am I paying for this tier when they're still included? They're still involved in this thing. I think another thing, when it comes to something like the Elimination Chamber, domestically, when you're using ESPN, you're paying that higher price, that premium. We're in the premium era, so you want less of that, especially for those events like the Chamber, like a Royal Rumble, like a WrestleMania. I guess it makes a little bit more sense for the weekly programming. Netflix should be a little bit different as opposed to the open air broadcasts or cable, with USA, but there's still different ways to do that where you're not completely just pulling the rug out from yourself and sucking the life out of the room.
Well, before we came on air, we were talking last night about that Gunther and Dragon Lee segment. Gunther's making his entrance. Dragon Lee attacks him in the entryway and is getting the better of Gunther. And immediately they go to commercial. They come back from like a 4-minute commercial and suddenly happened in the interim there. Didn't make any sense. It's just the continuity of the show. And then they go to commercial break again. And it's just like, oh my God, I just want to watch this match because those two guys were working their asses off, and we don't often get to see Gunther work with somebody that he can toss around like Dragon Lee, somebody that can create that kind of motion and that kind of movement in contrast to Gunther's slow dictating style. Like, styles make fights. Whenever Gunther's fighting a luchador, I am glued because I know it's going to be good. And I couldn't even get into the match because of the commercial breaks. But I know people that went to the show and they were like, oh, that match was incredible.
I mean, we're getting "This Is Awesome" chants from the live audience, and you're like, "What are they watching? Like, what are they seeing that
that
it's
Papa
not
John's
translating?"
commercial was not awesome. I'm sorry, it just wasn't.
Hell, there's nothing awesome about Papa John's anyway. But you're right, though. They go out there, work their ass off. Dragon Lee has been busting his ass from it, when they purchased AAA, going down there and working those shows down there, getting over in that sense. Got the rub, the shine for tagging with AJ, and now with Gunther. You said it's so fun to watch those different styles because he can create all that movement for Gunther. Could have done this in like half the time, and you got the same effect, but really spoke to your overall audience in it across the board. I know we've got a lot of production stuff we're going to talk about.
Well, the one that really stood out to me was at Elimination Chamber, the lighting and the shadows on the ring were awful. Like, if you could see past, the big Dodge logo in the middle of the ring, and then they had little smaller ads in all the corners of the ring, but if you could look past that, you could also see the shadows from the ring ropes, the shadows from the turnbuckles. And it looked like an indie. But, at the United Center, like, the lighting was just absolutely atrocious. At first, I really thought it was just from the Elimination Chamber itself that was creating all those shadows. But no, even in the singles matches where the Chamber wasn't in play, there were these weird shadows all over the canvas. And it just, when I'm paying 3 times as much money to watch an hour and a half worth of ads so that I can see an hour and 20 minutes worth of wrestling. At least make it look good.
Well, even inside of that, I caught a little bit of the pre-show, and they had a countdown, top 10 chamber moments. And even the panel, they lost their feed. So they're playing this video and they're even like, well, we can't comment right now because we've lost our feed. We don't know what you're seeing at home. So they're trying to cover on the fly with it. There was a lot of just even weird angles, some things for even inside the chamber when they were trying to catch the intensity of a collision, a slam into the pod, or the use of the chains there. Really weird cuts that you didn't get to feel that full effect of what they were trying to project towards the audience. I had asked you, especially with the shadows and some of the things like that, did it have maybe anything to do with an older arena with the United Center? I know it's strange to say, it's something that was just built in the 90s is almost outdated, but, we're used to seeing, the brand new up-to-date social media 2026 friendly, like LA arenas, or hey, let's just go to Saudi and just build an arena in 6 weeks.
The contrast to that is the United Center was built in, I think it was 94 is when it first opened. That means they've been running shows at the United Center since 1994, and I don't ever remember the lighting being that god awful.
Yeah. They made a point too to tell us how many times they've been to Chicago, this great home, a symbol of America. Get out of here with that.
Revisionist History Award of the Week goes to WWE for trying to convince me that this is the first time CM Punk has wrestled in the United Center. No, that's not true. That's just plain not true. Even when he re-debuted for AEW, it was at the United Center. They moved it to the United Center, if you remember that.
If you want to call that wrestling.
Well, yeah, I guess there is that. So where are you at with Elimination Chamber? We have Randy Orton going off to face whomever the champion may be. I think I was the one that broke the news to you guys during the Chamber post show that Nick Aldis had come out on the post show and just kind of went off on poor Drew McIntyre. And now we're going to have Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre this Friday from Portland on SmackDown for the WWE Championship. Does Drew just like get himself disqualified? I mean, why not, right?
Let's go back to the first part there. Randy Orton has stamped his ticket to WrestleMania. He's going to be in one of those spots in that match for the championship. Last week, you and I kind of started talking about that, and I'm making the rounds on the different shows. The conversation has creeped back up, and I've got some different takes on that. Last week, right here on Hidden Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast, I put over Randy. He was my pick for that. I think that makes a lot of sense in touching, the different eras of the fans, a lapsed fan, someone that's just vaguely familiar, the current fan base. Great with that. PR crossover. He knows how to represent the company. He looks great on the poster for that. They're still trying to put butts in the seats out there, but more so trying to get the buys, trying to get people to look to check out the product, if to be through ESPN on that. By the way, we got the news since last week. They're going to air the first hour of each night on the different ESPN open air platforms.
Yeah, my understanding is night 1, hour 1
is on the Deuce.
Will be on ESPN 2. And then for night 2, hour 1 will be on ESPN proper.
Yeah, makes sense. Get the biggest night, the main draw there for them. So they're trying to pull to their.
Well, let me ask you this before you continue. With that in mind, what's the main event? Because the biggest audience that you're going to reach is going to be in that first hour.
Let's hold that thought real quick. So go with the Randy thing here. I still like that. Ben and I had a great debate about this. He still goes to that old school set of the booking. You put over a heel in that chamber to go tell that story. But, they kind of booked themselves into the corners because you can't go in heel versus heel with Drew as the champ. Now we have the other possibility that was announced in the post-show scrum that it is going to be Drew McIntyre defending this Friday against Cody Rhodes. I think that has a lot more to do with marketing and sales than storyline purposes. There was a rumor that they still had some floor seats and stuff available at the Chamber. They are still struggling to push to fill these arenas on the road to WrestleMania, as they are WrestleMania itself, still behind in those ticket sales. So they're trying to, they're creating, putting some smoke out there to get that fire, to get people moving through those turnstiles. I am interested because are so many other working parts. We had a great conversation about it. Cody needs to rise above that championship, but he needs something very personal, something that means more than gold to keep you interested in whatever that hero is doing, whatever quests they're on, or as you've talked about, a breaking point where he turns. You've got some wild cards in there that have played into this main event scene. What is happening with Sami Zayn? What is happening with Jacob Fatu? All of that is going to come into play Friday night. I still believe Drew escapes this thing. It's going to be him and Randy. There's a lot of very old school personal storytelling that they can do to heat up a program between those guys. Now it does bring a question. When we get to WrestleMania, structuring this card takes on a much different look and dynamic. As you've stated there, Jargo, those hour ones of each night's going to serve different purposes, but overall, it is to get people hooked to want to see what is coming.
That's going to be the biggest audience you have.
Do we see a lot of each night hour one heavy promo driven, ad driven in that first hour to get you hooked to come see Randy and Drew, to see Punk and Roman, and then light it off with a big spectacle match?
I mean, I almost feel like, well, it depends on what they do with Brock Lesnar for me. Okay, I'll go ahead and preface with that, because I do think that you can make a case to headline night one of WrestleMania with Obafemi and Brock Lesnar. I do think that you can make that case. If you do that, I open night one of WrestleMania with whatever they're doing with the WWE Championship. Because I feel like it's going to be a multi-man match. And as we were kind of talking through things the other day, I had made the comment that the more people that you put into the match, the less important it is. But if I can get during hour one, night one on ESPN and throw out Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, help me out here.
CM Punk, Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Well, no. The guys that would be in this match, Fatu,
Sami.
I mean, depending if you're going to a four-way, a six-way.
I mean, you look anyway to a 4 to a 5-way, yeah.
But if you can get as many big name stars as you can on your TV at that first hour on ESPN, I think you can make that case.
There's a few different ways. I guess I would guess, try to just look at it through their eyes. One of those night one big grabs, and I'm still hung on it, but it could be any multi-person ladder match, but like the women's tag team TLC match, that would be something maybe they would give away, because they want to highlight those one, especially with ESPN transitioning this summer their Sunday night block away from Sunday Night Baseball to women's action, to women's sports action.
I think Dan brings up a good point here. I think Brock likes being the opener, and ESPN would like to have Brock. Do you open with Brock Lesnar and Obafemi?
I actually was just thinking about that. If you got people flipping around and they're thinking about professional wrestling, you want the biggest, baddest looking pro athletes. Guys who got there and throw down, guys that you would look at that look like they could go to the NFL and just manhandle everybody themselves. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Who better to do that with than Oba and Brock? But do you run the risk of, all right, we saw Brock, what do I care about the rest of this?
Right. Or are they hoping that at least, 10,000 people that tune into that will be like, holy crap, if this is what WWE is putting out now, I better sign up for ESPN Unlimited. And I mean, you get an extra 10,000 subscribers.
Right. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
There's also another dynamic to this. I think this is maybe a test run as well for future WrestleManias. You got to believe when they bought this product, and you look at the properties, the brands inside of WWE, notably WrestleMania, which is their Super Bowl, their national championship, and you look at the success, ratings, advertising that ESPN has had now that they're purchasing these other major events like the college football playoffs. We know the ratings for that. We know the advertising dollars for that. If they can get that just off of a WrestleMania and a SummerSlam to start airing those two events on their actual networks, that might even justify low numbers through the app in the long run.
I think my 1 hour on ESPN2 night one would be Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi, and then your women's TLC match. I think that would be my night 1 hour one of WrestleMania live on ESPN. I think that's
a lot of wrestling fans might not like hearing this as well. I use those hours too, what WWE has become accustomed to lately. Look who's here giving us the rub, and I'm loading that with as many professional athletes as I can.
Night 2, hour 1, Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley. Do you risk that?
You got to know. Well,
because I don't think the match is going to be good, but it looks good.
I think that is the women's equivalent because you want that representation on each night, men, women, something different. So you're almost flipping the sides there. You only need 10 minutes out of them, but that gives you that same visual and feel of badass, legit athletes, the same as you get with Obafemi and Brock Lesnar.
Do you like that matchup? Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. Do you like that matchup?
I like it for what we talked about, how it looks, the appeal. I like that from a marketing and media standpoint. Now, as a wrestling fan, it's not doing enough for me right now. Mainly, there is no tied history between these two. Jade's still trying to find her way. I don't think she understands that character. Creative does not understand that character. It's all over the place.
What is that character?
That bitch. But what's that mean? Rhea has been completely destroyed as a character. She is Wednesday Addams, who now collects Rainbow Bright stickers. It's exactly ever since the first season of Unreal. We pulled back that curtain, and we know she wants to be prissy little girl. This entire run with the Yost guy, absolute joke. All they do is the huggy, best friend. Thank you. Last night, come on, everybody thought they were going to a makeout session.
Disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you. I thought last night was great.
Shit me. That was
terrible. Here's why. This is WWE. What always happens when you have a tag team splitting up, one has to turn on the other one. In this case, we had two baby faces that are just splitting and going off in their own directions, but they're still friends. Like I like that story. I will give you it. It was incredibly over the top, and I'm sure that the 30, 40 some year old virgins
saved me in my darkest
Roman Reigns was talking about. They all got chubbies from it, but I'm fine with the story that it told. Regardless of the execution, I'm fine with the story.
I love the great payoff that I don't have to see her hugging Io Sky anytime in at least the next couple of weeks. I don't have to see that. That's the payoff for me there. And then she kind of flips that coin. Well, now I'm going to get real serious with you. And now I mean business. Get out of here with that. You got to reestablish that for me. It's going to take a while to rebuild that. Now, I do like, because they beefing over on the X. And if work or not, I like that. At least we're trying to strike the match to get a flame started.
Yeah, but I do see a problem here. And we saw it last night with Punk and Roman, right? Where Punk brought up the tweet that Roman had sent out during Elimination Chamber. Guys, I'm sorry. The real world We don't sit on our goddamn phones searching our name on X to see if anybody's saying anything about us. You got to tell us what the tweet was. Don't just assume that, the 1.5 million people that are watching your show, there might be 20,000 people knew what in the hell you were talking about.
You know what? Hey, that would be an actual nice little segment. Remember the old control centers? Me and Jane in the control. What if we had each week? No, because this is how we are in the real world. This is how people interact, how they conversate. What if we had the social slam? Get a nice little thing, and then they can even show you. Like they'll show you, hey, you can follow Rhea at blah, 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 or Jade at Jade Cargill, and then show those things. So now you're generating more social media activity, which they are so hungry for.
Yeah, I don't think social media activity is the answer to much of anything these days.
Old man Jargo over here with his finger on the button.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000,000%. By the way, I love all the interaction that we're getting from our social community. I love it. I love it.
Just don't tweet Jargo.
Yeah, just don't tweet him. Don't at me. Don't at me. So we had the Elimination Chamber, and my problem with the Elimination Chamber for both matches, really, was you had people in there that stood a 0% chance of winning that match. And the only reason that we had an Elimination Chamber was because it was February. And the calendar says we have to have Elimination Chamber now. Can we stop that? Can we just have Elimination Chamber go back to being a match that when you have like 6 guys that are vying for the opportunity to face off with the champion, that they're like, I know how we solve this. Elimination Chamber. We don't need to do this every year. What they say it was 24 years now that they've been doing the Elimination Chamber. It's all been done. We've seen all the cool spots that you can do with the Elimination Chamber. This year's was incredibly sanitized. If you go back and watch those matches from 20 years ago, can we stop this? Can we just stop this?
All the way around. Right now, I don't even think we need this extra PLE squeezed in here between Rumble and Mania. This is the time, maybe, where the classic, going back old school to just a Saturday night's main event to highlight some of the different things, show the big spectacle, show what a big event feels like, do a few little angles to highlight your marquee matches. Here's problem ticket sales. You're so forced here because you're trying to jam in to make this seem like a bigger event than it needs to be. Between Rumble and Mania, that's the focus, the road to WrestleMania. But even to add to what you're saying here, and what Frank's saying, Survivor Series, we got to find 2 teams of 5 on each division, just happen to line up because it's November and we got to have this structured game. Or going back to, it's October, got to have a Hell in a Cell.
Yep, I got a list, man. I don't need an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. I don't need a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I don't need a War Games pay-per-view. I don't need a Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I don't need a TLC pay-per-view. I don't need an Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Like, just do those matches when it's called for.
You use those. Now, when you say gimmick pay-per-view to me, what I do like is, okay, it's October. Give me Halloween Havoc, where the show has a theme, but you've got storylines that are built into it. The problem in professional wrestling, the disconnect, is where we moved to satisfy these moveset marks, where that's all they care about. We have lost our stories.
I found one of those moveset marks. Here he is.
Yep, there he is, down under.
Yep, Jimmy T.
So when you have lost the ability to create characters that connect with an audience, are telling stories that touch people's souls, you rely on gimmick matches. You're selling a novelty and a match instead of a reason for your audience to care. And that is why you have seen a drop off in regular fans and a passion and being at the head of society, what people are talking about in professional wrestling.
You know, Kenny's going to be that guy. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell the story now. Kenny, we're going to talk about Danhausen. All right. But he said the very nice, very evil. It's no longer very nice, very evil. We have to go very good, very evil, because Danhausen has very nice, very evil trademarked, and none of the software that I try to use will use that phrase because of Danhausen. So I'm mad at Danhausen now. I'm mad at Danhausen. I had to change everything to very good, very evil, because it wouldn't let me do very nice, very evil. I was so mad. I was so mad. His face paint too. His face paint. He has trademarked.
You know what? Hey,
like,
props.
Good. That dude is a machine. He is so smart. We'll get to Danhausen.
Props to the business sense.
Oh yeah, he's so smart. He's so smart. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely.
Yeah, when you're trying to sell a gimmick match, you're gonna fall short. Because then, even in that sense, there's no reason to care about the talents, the characters, and the storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really the problem with WWE all the way around. And I'm afraid of them doing that with Punk and Roman. Like I said, last night, I thought that promo at the end of the show last night was the worst part of the show. And granted, a large part of that, I was very up on that show last night. I thought it was a very good show. It feels to me like, and you always run this risk when you do a babyface versus babyface matchup. I'm afraid that they're both going to be unlikable by the end of this. The way that they are going at one another right now, they're not putting each other over. They're not putting each other over and then saying, look at how much more over I'm going to be when I beat this guy. Instead, they're just tearing each other apart. And I don't think that's the way to go to WrestleMania. That promo last night, I understand there was a lot of people that really, really liked it. And, that felt like a shoot. I don't care. You're making them both unlikable. That's the problem. And by the time you get to WrestleMania, it's going to be, I don't care. I don't care. The emotional investment is not going to be there.
In the exchange last night, and a lot of people are popping. It is getting a lot of buzz because you're right. They're like, ooh, that's a dig. Ooh, he went there on those. When you really take a step back, whenever I see these head-to-head promos, these verbal square-offs, I always like to, soak it all in and then replay that in a real-world situation. Like if I would see two people out in the bar days having an exchange like that. And one of the things that really stood out to me there is Punk lost that exchange because he lost his cool. Roman got under his skin, and the tell there is when your offense turns into a defense and you're just starting to throw any kind of jab, anything you can to connect there. And when he went after, not only am I going to end you, I'm going to bury you like your father. When you cross that personal line, it means you've kind of lost your wit. You're intellectually beaten at that point. So that, to me, it made Punk look very weak-minded, and that Roman completely got under his skin and is in his head.
Yeah, I just don't think it's good. I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's smart. Yeah.
No, I guess the question there, the trick, maybe above our pay grade, is when you're in a high-profile match like that, what is the proper booking procedure? How do you generate the interest there?
Well, and I'm afraid they started way too soon. That, I think, is the real problem, because still, thus far, that first night when they faced off with one another, that was the best the hottest and the best that this program's going to get. It's all downhill from there. That first night was really, really good. And I said, but now how do they sustain this for 2 months? And they're not.
Well, it's just not. Jimmy said over there in the chat, he agrees with you on that. And he's put over that Roman didn't respond. He just left. To me, that's a moment in Roman's mind where he's like, I got him. I just got him. I don't need to say anymore. It's not, that cut me so deep, my poor deep. Roman knows that his dad's passed away. He's dealt with that there. To me, that's Roman Reigns just thinking, hit his head like, I got this son of a bitch. I got him. He just bit.
But the thing about Roman is coming across so snide to me. I mean, like even just the way that he calls him Phil instead of calling him Punk. Like, and it's the tone that he uses. And I guess we'll go ahead and get into the monologue, because this is literally what the monologue is about this week.
When the crowd noise fades and the spotlight grows, there's a voice in the silence dirt gets tall.
So I'm going to do something a little bit different with today's monologue. Instead of keeping all of the tricks that I have up my sleeves, I'm going to pull back the podcasting curtain a little bit and let you in on one of the best kept secrets of the Jargo form of broadcasting. So whether you're curious about how we build the show, the stories that go on behind the scenes, if you want more of this, by all means, let us know. Today's monologue is about listening. And the irony is not lost on me that I'm doing a podcast about listening. I grew up involved in sports, be it playing or watching. My grandfather and I had season tickets to our local baseball team, the Clinton Giants, third row, right behind home plate. For years, we attended all the games, even following the team on the road. But some of my favorite memories weren't the games. They were the drive home when we would leave early because Grandpa had a 5-run rule. If you're up by 5, go ahead and leave, because if you lose, you ain't going to want to see it. And if you win, you've already seen everything that you want. If you're down by 5, the hell with this. We're getting the hell out of here. But on the way home, you know what we would do is we would turn on the radio, AM 1340 KROS, and they would broadcast the games. So I grew up listening to baseball. And that's what those nights following the Clinton Giants have really, really taught me. That's where I learned the first truth. Sound tells the story before a picture ever does. Those games taught me that you listen for things that people don't notice, the way a crowd of a couple hundred people would sound like 1,000 when a kid hit a double into the gap. The way the broadcaster's tone would shift on a 3-2 count, telling you more than the pitch itself ever could. The way that you could hear the difference between a clean crack of the bat or a jam shot off of the handle. The way the dugout started to sound when there was a brewing restlessness that we're going to get a rally. You could just feel it coming. You learn to build the game in your mind, and you learn to trust your imagination. You learn the truth of the moment often lives in the sound of it, not the sight in front of you. And that skill has followed me to professional wrestling. When I walked away from podcasting, one of the things I told everybody was, I don't have time. I just don't have time. Because Raw, SmackDown, and the PLEs, I have to watch twice. Because the first time, all I do is listen to it. I don't even watch it. I want to hear the wrestling. And that changes everything. Because then you can hear the footwork. Some wrestlers glide, some wrestlers stomp. You can hear who's smooth. You can hear who's green, who's confident on the mic, who's getting rattled. Breathing becomes a tell. You can tell who's blown up. You can tell who's pacing themselves, who's panicking, who's in full command. Crowd noise becomes the truth. Before the internet debates, before the think pieces, the crowd tells you everything. Who's over, who's not, who they're ready to believe in, who they're rejecting. Commentary becomes the narrator. On TV, it's just wallpaper. It's the spine of the story. But you can hear when they're elevating someone or when they're covering for LA Knight or when they're planting seeds for something weeks or maybe months away. Promos become theater. Without the camera angles, you can hear the craft. You can hear the breath control, the pacing, the emotional shifts, the crack in the voice that tells you, this isn't a script, this is a moment. Listening turns wrestling into radio drama, live action story told in rhythm, in timing, with the rise and the fall of a crowd that doesn't lie. And when you listen long enough, you can hear the business behind the curtain. You can hear when a match layout is working or when it's falling apart. You can hear when they're calling an audible. You can hear when the crowd is ready for a turn before the booking ever catches up. Dominic Mysterio. You can hear who connects without needing a camera to save them. You can hear the difference between a performer that's reciting lines and a performer that's living it. It's the same education that you get from minor league baseball. The grind, the nuance, and the little things that set apart the good from the bad. Huckleberry, I know I told you this years ago. I would sit at work, I would listen to Raw, and then I would sit down and write the show. Are you doing that still? I know you tried it for a little while. Are you listening to wrestling?
Yeah, first and foremost, what really spoke to me there, you talking about sensing and consuming more when you shut down some of your senses, mainly sight. So going back to when I was working with a professional wrestling announcer or any of the promotions that I've worked with in helping and promote shows, organize things there, I very rarely, especially big matches, main events, watch the match. I don't think I ever watched one of our main events at the Professional Wrestling Alliance. I would tend to more go away from the venue. I would go outside where there was an open window where I could still get that earshot out in the hallway. And I could tell if they were doing their job by listening to, as you said, the bumps in the ring. There, if I could hear them, how they're selling verbally, but more so the audience. And a lot of times, even when I did have a visual, I wasn't concerned about the moves, what the talents were doing. It was watching an audience. How were they reacting? One of the things that Beast even taught me very early on, they don't always have to be making a lot of noise, but where are their eyes focused? They could just be in awe and getting into the story, staying silent. But as long as they're fixed on what's happening, the action in front of them, that's the important. Now, if you look out and you've lost them, they got their phones in their hands or they're conversating about other things, then you're not doing your job as a company. That's how I always approach it there.
Yep.
Now, putting together the shows here, what I will do, and sometimes which I do like having some time between the shows, to first watch through them. I always got the notepad next to me, and I'm just jotting down a lot of bullet points, things that I see, match orders, segment orders, my initial reaction to certain things, a lot of bullet points. Then I'll go back through, make sense of all of those, and group them together for talking points. And then how can we flow the show together with it?
Yep. Just listen. Just listen. That's all you got to do. Just listen to the crowd. They'll tell you everything that you want to know. And sometimes, if you get a really good performer, they can change it. We saw that on Saturday night. Huckleberry, he is here. It is the debut of Danhausen, and it's this week's Botch and the Brilliance.
To the shine, from the chaos to the climb. This is the Botch and the Brilliance.
Still need to make a video for that one. I think it's just going to be an LA Night highlight reel. Yeah. I think it'll just be LA Night highlight reel. Oh my God. That guy's just got to stop. He's got to stop. So let's talk some Danhausen on the Podcasthausen, Huckleberryhausen. I know we have been following Danhausen for years. So we know we're in on the joke, but there are a lot of people inside of a WWE context that are just like, what is happening right now? Can somebody explain Danhausen to me? When he came out on Saturday, you could hear the initial pop, mostly for the spectacle and the what in the hell is happening right now. And then he got booed out of the building. And I think most people, most of the casual fans in Chicago were thinking that it was going to be Chris Jericho. So he got the Rey Mysterio boos when he wasn't Bryan Danielson, because they don't know who Danhausen is. Now, all I'm seeing people talk about from last night's show is Danhausen. I think he has immediately started to win some people over here because Danhausen is an acquired taste, and I don't know if this is going to work, but I love that Danhausen.
First there that jumps out, Will this work? It will. I think he's got the support there. He understands who he is. And indications, I think early on, they understand this. They've given him some backing that we have not seen from others. Some of these NXT call-ups that, that they've invested in. And they're taking a risk with Danhausen because it is a very different act, which is so refreshing in the world of professional wrestling, especially at that level at WWE where everything is so cookie cutter, rinse and repeat. You're a clog in the machine. This is something that absolutely stands out. Is Danhausen a WrestleMania main eventer? No. Should he? We could argue he should never even wrestle at a WrestleMania because there's still so much value in what he can bring to the product without doing any bumps or anything like that. And we're beginning to see that here. And you are right. People are thinking, oh, nobody cares about him. Vet brought up a great point over on the wreckage. And this is the WWE's invested. The crowd did react. There wasn't crickets. Mm-hmm. So we've got something. That's the most positive to take from it. There was that reaction. You gotta believe with WWE, they're at least thinking here, okay, we're in Chicago. A good portion of their audience doesn't have any clue who Danhausen is, doesn't understand the act. But you're in one of the smarkiest cities of smarky cities, Chicago. Those fans know the relationship with CM Punk, so they're going to give him that rub. They're going to give some kind of, hopefully positive reaction to it. Again, like you said, I think it was the negativity was because it wasn't some megastar Chris Jericho along those lines. But so if these people want to pretend like they know professional wrestling, they've exposed themselves. Because what in the build to this screamed that was going to be Chris Jericho or some main eventer?
Well, and to be clear, and Jimmy T is saying the same thing. Right? Like, why would it be Jericho? Stop thinking like a mark. Stop thinking like the marks that we are, the guys who do shows like this, the guys who watch shows like this, the guys that watch every show and then listen to every show. We're talking about the casual fan. The casual fans are the ones that booed Danhausen. It wasn't the diehard fans like us. They're the ones that popped for Danhausen when it first started. You get an immediate pop. And then the boos came out once they realized that it wasn't somebody that they knew who it was, right? Like people like us, we're in on it. We know Danhausen. We already love that Danhausen. It's getting them to know Danhausen.
And it's going to take, it's that acquired taste with it. But if even in the storytelling of it, when we get this
yes, Gorilla, I'm not using that as a derogatory term in this instance. Mark is not always a derogatory term.
Hey, we love hitting all of them. But when the crate shows up, who's interested in it? Lower tier people that whoever's in it's going to be interacting with. It's the mismatched tag division, the Kurt Jerkers. R-Truth is leading it. It's not like a main eventers in there. What is this? That they're going to immediately get into a program with. That's not the case. So, and then when they opened this thing, I absolutely loved. And I will say, Mark's not a bad thing. I marked out like crazy. Loved this introduction.
Is that Billy Ray Valentine? Billy Ray Valentine in the house? Really?
All right. I guess. Wow. I guess they're going to be followed. They're going to be talking about a lot of this on the road to WrestleMania. Looks like the 11 boys going to be going tonight with a Wednesday locker room reunion. A lot going on.
Nice
here for a Tuesday. But again, my only complaints for the debut, I would have liked to seen more production, but I love how campy it was.
I love exactly. It couldn't be great production. That ruined the joke.
Well, I would like to see more dancers, things like that, because we got 8 of them coming running. Like, how could one person live in the box? We got 9 people in the box, and only Danhausen can bring that to you. You get that campy sort of Batman sitcom feel to it as he's coming out. And it, even the subtlety of, instead of the over-the-top pyros for him, it's just the one puff of smoke, which was it was so great. It just hit the mark right on it there for me. The only other little change I would have made, especially since you're in Chicago, And this guy is a cult classic there. Came up there, ties in perfectly with Danhausen. I would have loved to have seen almost like a passing of the torch with Sven Gulli. Like have him come out of the casket first, then bring out the dancers, and then have the man come out and do his thing there. That's what I would have loved to have done with it. Then they rolled last night on Raw, and I thought, as much as I enjoyed the debut at the Chamber last night, that's what stole the show. That's what everyone's talking about on Raw.
Yes. Yeah.
Captain Steve Austin. The list of, PS with the glasses. I see that.
Yeah. The glasses as a costume. Very, very tricky. I love the note written in crayon. I love that he had dropped it in the toilet. I love Adam Pearce pawning him off on the Judgment Day as quickly as he possibly could. I mean, everything about this was perfect. Danhausen.
It's not even the dialogue. You can go back and just put that on mute, as you said, not just listen to it. That's a watch. His body language, everything about, it is Judgment Day is there. A huge pop for the Triple H picture with the point. He's got to get that. And then with the Intercontinental title, can I have that? And then
very shiny.
Then the foreshadowing is they're heading to the ring, and you're cursed. So this is Penta's moment at that point.
Yeah. Immediately, I was like, "Oh, Dom's losing that title tonight." Danhausen 1-0 when it comes to curses inside of the WWE. For those of you that are new to Danhausen, you do not want to be cursed by Danhausen. Ask William Regal. It caused William Regal to dance. It was rather entertaining. By all means, look that clip up. But Danhausen 1-0 in WWE curses. There is one person that has been able to withstand the curse of Danhausen, and that is Pepsi Phil. This is very, very well documented that Pepsi Phil is immune to Danhausen curses. So I absolutely look forward to some interaction like that. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. I mean, CM Punk's looking for a new dog. Just bring in Danhausen. Hookhausen was great.
You do that down the line because right now, and I know a lot of people are going to start, okay, when's he going to get?
You don't want to do it before Mania. You can't do it before Mania.
No. I'm even saying there are so many great characters in the WWE universe that he can interact with. I don't even want to see him bell to bell for 2 months.
Yes.
And that's
one thing people are asking is, can Danhausen wrestle? Yes, Danhausen can wrestle. No, he's not going to give you a 5-star match. He's not spectacular in the ring, but the kid can go. And some of his spots are very nice and very evil. I mean, that's just, it's Danhausen. But he even wrestles as that character, and it's sufficient.
I just kind of thought of that because we're talking about where he fits in, all these different characters he can interact with, and he can cross brands. I want to see him everywhere on SmackDown doing the thing. I want to see him in NXT. I think we're getting a lot of teaser where could work perfectly because a lot of people immediately are like, oh man, him and Mr. Guant. Well, he's already got the thing with Dom, so there's your the Triple A because we've already got that introduction. He will be
huge in Triple A. He may even become a champion, not the champion. He won't be the Mega Campeon, but he could win a championship in Triple A.
So you got all these people he can interact with. So before he gets in the ring, we need to build up, establish that character, let him continue to highlight these shows in these simple segments like that before he pokes the wrong bear and pisses one too many bullies off that want to start picking on him. Then down the road, you tie in. That's where he needs to have a hero, a big brother, a buddy like a CM Punk come to his aid and help him. These tag team divisions are abysmal. I saw one of the great memes immediately come out that was comparing a possibility down the road of when Stone Cold Steve Austin and Dude Love were the tag champs. How about CM Punk and Danhausen as the tag champs down the road?
See, I think it needs to be somebody even bigger. And I don't mean like ego stature on the card. Like I feel like Danhausen needs to, like, Obafemi should be like terrified of Danhausen.
I was going to say, hey, we're going to tie it into AAA, how big he could get down there south of the border for that.
Almost. Yeah. Yeah, Danhausen works very, very well when paired with giants. I mean, it just, that gimmick works very well. So to somebody who doesn't know Danhausen, how do you describe Danhausen? Like, how do you introduce him? I mean, I thought they did a great job on Raw last night with the cold Steve Austin thing with Adam Pearce and in a disguise because of the glasses. Like, that all makes total sense. He should never call Triple H ever again. That was the only thing that I was a little discouraged by. He should be the man with 3 H's. Like, these are the things that Danhausen does. How do you explain that to somebody? Conan O'Brien, that kind of, there's definitely some Conan in there.
I think you hit it with over in the Hami Media Group.
Oh, the Andy Kaufman thing.
Whatever you said, because I just replied pop. It just resonated to me with what you said. With
Andy Kaufman back from hell disguised as a demon. Like, that's to me is Danhausen. I would just instead of trying to explain it, Andy Kaufman to me.
I would just say you can't explain Danhausen. You have to experience Danhausen. So just tune in.
That's true. That's true. I do think Danhausen works better behind the scenes. Danhausen has hosted his own public TV kind of show before. So maybe you could do something with that where Danhausen has guests coming onto his show and Danhausen gets to insult the entire roster in a fun, playful way that way, where he's acting as the interviewer. I think there's a lot of things you can do with Danhausen without Danhausen being in the ring. I think that's the important thing. And then when you do put Danhausen in the ring, Danhausen gets his ass kicked. Something goes terribly wrong for the other guy, and Danhausen wins. Like, that's the way the Danhausen character works.
Bit was actually talking about this on Monday Locker. We spent like 40 minutes talking about Danhausen, all the possibilities with it. and you could, what it is really, Ben booked a guy like this at OVW, Lumpy Magoo, who got over, like, he ended up main eventing because, I mean, they were packing the Davis Arena just to see Lumpy, but he would pick up wins like in a Mr. Bean fashion where, like, he would bend over to like tie his boot and then the guy would like fall over him and he'd get the pits. Like, he was finding success despite all of, just his awkwardness and have no idea what he was doing. That's how you build here. The mistake that AEW made with Danhausen is they didn't realize that. And they pushed to cater towards that wrestle crowd that they have. And they tried to get him out there too much bell to bell and didn't pull back with him. There is, as I said, you don't explain Danhausen, you experience Danhausen. He is also an extreme case of less is way more.
Yes. 90-second segments for Danhausen are perfect because then he doesn't wear out his welcome, right? I mean, he's the funny off-kilter guy. And I know people are talking about this Oberhausen thing. I love the Oberhausen thing, especially if you are going to push that Omafemi is Nigerian and that he grew up in Nigeria where, voodoo is a thing. Obafemi doesn't want to be cursed. And so he befriends Danhausen and it humanizes Obafemi and you have Danhausen has his backup for when somebody like Rusev comes along to pick on him.
I'm more towards the Omos because it sticks him a little bit more with the Kami. I want Oba. I want Oba as an ass kicker. I don't need any of the comedy in with him right now.
Oh, I don't necessarily need comedy, but I don't want you picking on my little buddy. Otherwise, I'm going to beat your ass. Like, he entertains me.
I wouldn't go to. I'd keep those guys away from each other right now.
Oba feminist. That's disturbing. Let's talk a little bit of AEW before we get out of here. We do have some more Danhausen coming up. So if you love that Danhausen, I have a special treat for you at the end of the show. Let's talk a little bit of AEW. I think AEW is in a good place? ? Because the shows are good. I enjoy watching every episode of Dynamite. I enjoy most episodes of Collision. I think their in-ring product is really good. They're not trying to overbook themselves. They've toned everything down with their eclectic sense of storytelling that they had going there for a while. We're doing more, 3-month arcs. Like, things have toned down, and it's consistently good. There's just not a lot going on.
I was gonna say, she said they found a steady run with their audience. I mean, they had that big fall off in the last year. It seems like they steadied out. What are they around that 600 mark steadily?
Yeah, they're in that like 650 to 700,000.
Okay, a little better than I had thought there. So they have found kind of their niche.
For anybody that doesn't know, when we talk ratings on this show, I always talk +7s. I always talk +7s, not live viewership.
There we go. Now I still question though, and I watch all their programming much as I can. Sometimes the Collision's kind of hard to get, so I'll get the recaps on that. It still remains one of those shows where I'm not necessarily a moveset dude. So I can kind of just zone out, just go into this void. Like I'm watching it, but I'm not registering it. And a lot of it doesn't stay with me immediately following. So when I ask me something right after it, it's like, I know I watched that. Wait, let me slow down and go through this, because it is more move set based. And that's that audience that they're shooting for. I have noticed a little bit with the characters. I think Swerve, I like what they're doing with Swerve. I am connecting a little bit in that fashion, but they're still, to me, not doing a whole lot of real character, real storyline connection. We go back. We were talking about. It seems like anytime Hangman is in the title picture, we gotta have a hook with it, because he's not strong enough of a character with storylines to draw an audience in. So now we got to go back again to anything that has to do with Hangman. It has to be a Texas death match. Why are we already there in this process between these two?
Because this is what I'm afraid of. Okay. I'm afraid that Tony Khan thinks that he had a great idea for a story that he was going to tell with Cody Rhodes, when Cody said that he would no longer challenge for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. And enough time has went past it. Now we're just going to tell that story with Hangman Page instead, because I think it's a really good story. I think that's what's going on here. Originally, I had thought that it was going to be Hangman going over in this scenario. I no longer think that. I think Max is going to win this match. Hangman's not going to be able to challenge for the championship anymore. I think that's what's going to happen.
All right, so, I mean, you kind of have like a cowboy without a cause out roaming the range. He's going to have to try to find his way. Well, so we kind of talked about.
It's a terrible idea. For the record, I think it's a terrible idea. I hate this stipulation.
I don't like stipulation. I don't like the gimmick with it. That could be down the road, something like that. Max is the right guy to lead the company now. He's out there. He's pushing a lot of agendas. As you saw, like today, he was talking about, hey, the other company is price gouging. Can't afford to go. We have that. Been screaming for months, a year. Been screaming for a year. That should have been a company initiative. Tony Khan should have been leading that charge, saying, "Hey, I am a billionaire, but you know what? I can eat it. I'm going to cut some tickets. Why they're price gouging you? We want you here. We want you to bring the family. We are for wrestling fans. We're for all of us, But they're afraid to challenge the big boys. That's what they should have been doing. They should be planning right now, when our WrestleMania is sold out next year to blood money. They should be running a cheapo show that's stacked here in the States.
I don't disagree.
To me, that has continued to be the disconnect for AEW, that they just won't step up to the plate and become a big boy business. And he still just wants to run as like a super indie wrestling show.
And he's doing a hell of a job. And you're exactly right. This is a show now that is catered more to me than it is to you. right? Because there's a lot of wrestling on AEW shows, right? Where, yeah, you can tune out. The problem with AEW, as Jimmy T puts it in the chat, is their damn ass AEW booking. Where you have, let's take El Clone, for example, and let's put him
you had
against
a conversation
Jon
about him
Moxley.
last week.
And let's put him against Moxley, and you guys go out there and tear the house down for 20 minutes. And while I enjoy the match, how ass is Jon Moxley that it took him 20 minutes to beat El Clone? Like, he should be winning that match in 5 minutes. And that's the problem with AEW's ass booking. Like, I enjoy the matches, but they book these matches where there's no question who is going to win it, and then go out there and go 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And it's just like, oh my God, Roderick Strong and Moxley did that, where it might have been a time limit draw even for Roddy and Moxley to set up a match. And it's just like, really?
Yeah, you've already established.
Beat Roderick Strong in a half hour?
You've already established Moxley is one of your dominant, your top guys that has run through as a world champion. And now he's going out there going toe for toe, 50-50, 40-60 with mid-carders to curtain.
Right.
So to compare that like to sports, when we're looking at one of the top teams in, a Big Ten or SEC school, and they're playing a mid-major, and they squeak one out in the fourth quarter. We're not saying, oh my God, that mid-major, look at them, they should be elevated. It's, man, this Georgia team isn't that good. It's what's wrong with them? Are they getting exposed? So you're not pulling people up in those instances. You're dragging down the top.
Yeah, and we're going to see it this Wednesday on Dynamite because Saturday on Collision, which nobody watched because, Elimination Chamber was going on. They open up that show with MJF coming out and cutting a hot promo about how, I want Tony Khan to get his skinny ass out here and fix this. I have no desire to have a Texas death match with Hangman Page, and I'm going to hold up your show until you come out here and fix this. It was a great promo. It was very MJF. And finally, somebody comes out, but it's not Tony Khan. It's Kevin Knight. And so we get Kevin Knight versus MJF Wednesday on Dynamite. I'm sure it's going to be a very good match. MJF should not be having a very good match with Kevin Knight a week before defending the AEW World Heavyweight Championship against Hangman Adam Page in a Texas Death Match.
No, there's no intrigue to even tune into it. We know it's going to be Hangman getting beat up by someone he should not be getting beat up with, escaping the match and moving on.
And it'll go 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just, that's not smart. The match will be good. I enjoy watching the hell out of it, but no, that's just not smart booking. Jimmy T said AEW ass booking.
He knows. He watches way too much of it.
Oh, that's Jimmy T. Jimmy T. Huckleberry, anything else that you want to talk about before we get out of here this week?
Another good show here. You know what? I'm just going to pull the curtain back on and expose it. I'm just looking forward to the close song.
Yeah, so we do have the new hit single from the WXYZs. You bet. I love it. So that's going to wrap things up for this week's show. Thanks for watching and or listening. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Keep up with the show by hitting the marks on your favorite podcast listening device. Don't keep up with me because chances are I don't want to talk to you. Instead, hit up the vet over at Opinion Haver. Huckleberry Hausen, how do the peeps, the freaks, and the demons keep up with you?
Right here, the Hobby Media Group, YouTube. Like, subscribe, and be sure to head on over to our Patreon, Hobby Media Group Patreon, where you get all the podcasts on the go, or you can watch in video form.
We will see you next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, let's, for those of you not familiar with Danhausen, this is my effort to catch you up a little bit. We'll see you next week.
Very good, very evil, very cursed, but also very reasonable. He walks out slow with the cape and the glare, paint on his face like he fell down the stairs, curses in his pocket, teeth in his hand. Danhausen's here, you will obey his brand. with incredible rules. Very good, very evil. Danhausen's unbelievable. He'll curse your shoes, your snacks, your phone, then ask for money. Leave him alone. Very good, very evil. Stronger than 1,000 weasels. He'll hex your match, he'll steal your fame, all while mispronouncing your name. He doesn't like kicks, he doesn't like punches. He mostly likes jars of teeth for lunches. He'll sneak behind you, tap your back, then run away yelling, "You owe me a snack!" He teams with giants, befriends the cursed, shows up in promos like he rehearsed. He's spooky light, he's chaos mild, a haunted Victorian theater child. Very good, very evil. Danhausen's unbelievable. He'll curse your boots, your theme, your gear, then ask, "Why are you booing? I'm nice this year." Very good, very evil. Half magician, half upheaval. He'll ruin your match with a single glance, then do a weird little victory dance. He doesn't need strength, he doesn't need speed, he just needs you to believe in his creed. He'll shout teeth and the crowd goes wild. This is the power of a cursed man-child. He tiptoed up to Phil with the soda can, said, "Very good, very evil, Bevertran." Phil turned around like he smelled a fight, started cutting promos on daylight. Danhausen blinked twice, "What did I do?" Phil yells, "Dead at a nearby shoe." He cracked the Pepsi, foam hit the floor. Danhausen whispered, "He is cursed for sure." Tried one more hex, but Phil stood still. "You cannot out,